Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to a new term, or a new half term. I wonder what you think about taxes. Maybe you've never thought about them at all, and so you might be surprised to know that every single one of you has already paid taxes in one way or another. Maybe you might think that taxes are a good thing, because they pay for public services like maintaining the roads and taking out the rubbish. Or maybe you think that taxes are just a way of the government putting its hand into your pocket and taking away your money. There is a popular cliche that goes like this: in this world, there is nothing certain but death and taxes. In other words, no matter how much you might want to avoid paying taxes, and however hard some people try, you can't. Now, today our gospel reading talks about a man who makes his living as a tax collector. But collecting taxes was done very differently in Bible times than it is today. And I'm going to explain that in just a moment. But first, let's read our gospel reading for this week, which is taken from Luke chapter 19, verses 1 to 10, and it says this. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus, and he was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and he climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached that spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." Now, you might think that taxes are something only adults have to worry about, and that they're totally not relevant to you as teenagers. But if so, you'd be wrong. You may or may not know that almost every single thing that you buy in the shops here in the UK already has taxes added to it as part of the price. So if you see a price tag on a shelf saying $16.99, if you take it up to the till, that's the price you will pay. But part of that price is made up of taxes. You just don't see it. But not all countries do it this way. I grew up in Canada, and when you go shopping there, the taxes are only added on at the till. So you might see in Canada a price tag saying $33.75. But when you get to the till, they'll ask you for more money than that to cover the taxes. Is one system better than the other? Who knows? In both cases, you have to pay the tax, but in one it's hidden, unless you choose to stand in the shop and work it out, while in the other, it's clear to see, but you always have to make sure that you have more money with you than you think you might need if you only rely on the price tags. But either way, you can't get out of paying taxes. Now, in Bible times, it was very similar. Everyone had to pay taxes. But they used a different system than we do today. The Roman Empire knew that everyone hated taxes, and almost everybody hated the empire itself. So they came up with a cunning plan. Rather than having officials in Roman uniforms collecting the taxes, they encouraged Jewish people to become tax collectors and to collect the money to pay the government from their own people. These people weren't paid a salary for their work. Instead, what they were allowed to do was to increase the cost of the taxes over and above what they were required to collect, and then they could keep the rest. There was no guidelines on how much they could skim off the top. The Roman officials didn't care. So long as they got the money that the government needed, they were all good. And whatever else was extorted from the common people just wasn't relevant. What that meant is that tax collectors were unpopular for two reasons. One was just because they collected taxes, but the other was that ordinary people saw them as cheats and crooks who were lining their own pockets with the money of hard-working people. Understanding that matters because it will help you to understand our gospel story this week and why people reacted to Zacchaeus the way that they did. So we will come back to this tomorrow and we will look at the people in the story itself. But just remember, death and taxes, you can't get out of it. I'll see you all soon.